Thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of The Perfect Pass. Naranda Brown here, providing you with a recap of Game Week 23. It was a rather bittersweet weekend, a few lackluster encounters, and there were those that failed to impress, but there was one particular game that made up for all the other shortcomings over the weekend. Liverpool versus Manchester City, we'll begin by speaking about Crystal Palace. As mentioned in Friday's airing, Wilfred Zaha would be the man pulling all the strings there, and he did just that. He brought Crystal Palace over the line with 1-0 victory over Burnley. Huddersfield went down 4-1 losers to West Ham. Newcastle drew their game against Swansea. Newcastle finding a bit of rhythm. They're not losing, but they're not winning either. They have a tricky fixture up against Manchester City next weekend, and we should see how that one turns out. West Brom finding the goals finally. They're faced with relegation threats, and they came away 2-0 victors over Brighton, as we had predicted. Watford against Southampton. Watford has failed to establish themselves. They're lacking consistency, and Southampton coming off that interesting game against Manchester United, they pulled off a draw against Watford. The English Premier League is now begging for video assistant replay, as the last goal that Watford scored appeared to be off the hand of that player. Chelsea 0-0 against Leicester City. Now 3 consecutive games that Chelsea has failed to score a goal, and I think that's a genuine problem that needs to be addressed in the January transfer window. It appears Michy Batshuayi will be out on loan with Sevilla, and there are some rumours of Andy Carroll coming in, which I'm not quite fond of, because Andy Carroll is not a top quality striker, at least not anymore. His glory days are far behind him. I think Chelsea need to dig deep and find a quality striker at a bargain, which will prove extremely difficult in this transfer window. Tottenham against Everton. Everton's new showing showed some promise. However, Harry Kane and his team were far superior. Sung-min along with Harry Kane, they were on the score sheet. They showed their quality. Harry Kane getting a brace, but Son was the man of the match there. Tottenham developing a bit of rhythm. They failed to lose a game for quite some time now, and Harry Kane simply can't stop scoring. Bournemouth upset Arsenal at home. Bournemouth were the hosts. They came away 2-1 victors over Arsenal, coming from behind. Arsenal would have been hard done, but they were without their 2 best players, and this is by far one of the worst Arsenal teams in about 10 years or so. It's interesting to see what they will be doing in the transfer window. There are rumours of them signing the Brazilian Malcolm, but Malcolm by himself will not be able to bring this Arsenal team, and if Arsenal doesn't add real quality to their team, they will be sitting probably about 6th or 5th in the table come end of the season. Liverpool up against Manchester City. As expected, this would be a crunching encounter, and it did not disappoint. Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah, they came to the big occasion. Kevin De Bruyne, he was outmaneuvered in midfield. The fluidity of play wasn't there for Manchester City. They couldn't establish themselves, and although they had a late comeback, Liverpool was completely dominant for most of the game. They were outclassed in some areas. Liverpool were always first to the ball. They wanted it more, and in the end, Liverpool players showed that there is in fact life after Philippe Coutinho with that astonishing win against Manchester City. It could have been 5 or 6 goals to 3 easily, but in the end, a fair enough result. Manchester City scored 2 goals in the latter part of the game. Liverpool defenders fell asleep, but Liverpool held on for a well-deserved win. Manchester United up against Stoke in the late game on Monday. Manchester United came away 3 goals to nil victors over Stoke. Goals coming from Martial and Lukaku back on the score sheet. Paul Pogba pulled all the strings. He showed why he's world class, and Lukaku finally getting back a bit of confidence. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Yet another episode of Perfect Pass. See you